we'd have time for everything.
Hey
anyway,
guys,
though.
Horatio here. Today we went to Ueno Park for day 11 of my Japan trip, specifically to visit the world-famous Ueno Zoo, which has a very, very large amount of different animals, many of which I had never seen. We started out with a hilariously laughing eagle, who was very, very entertaining. He was with a wide variety of raptors and predatory birds that they had, and he was definitely just a wacky little fellow. And yeah, he just laughed and he hung his head in shame. I will also admit that I was nearly as impressed by the spiders in the bushes outside of the enclosures as the animals in the enclosures. I'm definitely a spider nut, and it was very fun to see the wide variety of species in Japan. In the zoo, they had a number of large cats, including several lions, who were being fairly active despite the staggering heat, as well as a tiger, who was active, but spent most of the time that we were in front of his enclosure eating grass. And then in a nocturnal exhibit, they had a variety of animals, including leopard cats, which are one of my favorites. I love tiny forest cats, and they were being quite active while we were there, running around their enclosure, just being adorable little pieces of adorable. They had a birdhouse with a lot of different birds, probably around 100 species or so. They also had a group of gorillas, including one of the females had recently had a very small baby, who you can see here with its mom. It was so incredibly precious to watch it just kind of exploring its environment. Then we went along to the cranes, where we found the secretary bird, one of my favorite animals of the zoo. He was just, he showed off quite a bit while we were there and was generally being a wacky little fellow. And then it was on to the many different kinds of bears that they had. They had several species of bears: Hokkaido brown bears, sun bears, black bears, many cute species. They also had polar bears, and I wasn't able to get footage of the polar bears, but they were being pretty sleepy while we were there. But the rest of the bears were fairly active and quite a bit of fun to watch. They had a herd of elephants, which were relatively active. We were there around the time of their feeding. And then they had the jackass penguins. Not even joking. They're African penguins, but they bray. Then they had this incredible vivarium, which had a wide variety of reptiles and marine and aquatic life. And I definitely had a lot of fun there, specifically watching the Australian lungfish, one of my all-time favorite animals. They had quite a few of them in a tank with turtles and some other fish swimming around and just being awesome. In a lot of the enclosures, they had animals living together in harmony. There was an iguana with a lot of turtles. It was very, very cool. They had a green anaconda, who I actually got to see being a little bit active. I'd never gotten to see one being active before. Then they had giant salamanders, which lived up to their name at about 2.5 to 3 feet long. I tried to put my hand next to it so you could fully grasp its size. Then there was an anteater who was being active and silly. I don't think I'd ever gotten to see an anteater in person. And he was
gonna climb up?
very, very cute.
He's gonna climb up.
Then it was on to the monkey house, starting with what I believe were the colobus monkeys, who were very cute. They had several fairly young ones who were being active and silly. Then it was the black-handed spider monkeys, one of which was just being insane the entire time we were there. He was flying around and messing with the other spider monkeys in their enclosure. Then it was the Japanese macaques, which were staring wistfully at each other from 2 separate enclosures. There was a family in each enclosure. Then it was the Brazos monkey, which was very cute. Again, there was a very young one who was still nursing, and was just being cute little show-off for the entire audience. And then we left the zoo and went to the National Museum of Science, which was one of my really excited trips. They had absolutely, without a doubt, the most impressive fossil collection I have ever faced. They had everything from Precambrian to near present. They had invertebrates, they had plants, they had fish, they had of amphibians, reptiles, dinosaurs, mammals, megafauna, everything you could imagine, coelacanth fossils galore, and I just was so impressed with their collection and so delighted to be in the presence of so many different prehistoric animals, which are definitely a passion of mine. We originally went there just because they have a coelacanth specimen, but I was delighted by the massive amount of fossils that I got to look at and see for the first time in real life in my entire life. And they were just, they were so impressive and so impressively well displayed as well. I couldn't recommend this trip enough for anybody considering going to Japan. The National Museum of Science was just so incredibly worth the 600 yen or $6 ticket price, which is fairly cheap, to see just such an impressive collection.
I am nerding
we moved
out,
on
Jess.
through the where they had a variety of marine reptiles, including a gigantic turtle that I nicknamed Gamera because I'm a mature adult. But a variety of plesiosaurs, mosasaurs, everything you could imagine, and then on to the mammals and megafauna, a variety of cat species, saber-toothed cats, smilodons, just enormous megafauna, mammal species, and then moving into the dinosaurs, so many different fossils. It was so impressive. If you're a paleontology nerd, even in the least, I can't recommend it enough. We unfortunately didn't have time to go through the entire museum. We stuck at the Global Gallery and went to the exhibits, Evolution of Life from Earth's Origin Through Human Existence, Evolution of Life Solving the Mysteries of the Dinosaurs, and then up to Biodiversity. We're all part of the same ecosystem, which is where they keep the coelacanth, which is without a doubt my favorite animal. For those of you who don't know the story of the coelacanth and its discovery, I cannot recommend investigating it enough. But I was just so delighted to be able to see the coelacanth specimen. It was very well taxidermied. There's been no success in keeping a live coelacanth, but they had it displayed along with a lungfish, which was perfect. And they even, in one of the hallways, had a coelacanth statue, which we stopped to have my picture taken with, and I bought a coelacanth plush in the gift shop. So this day was a total success. I definitely cannot recommend the National Science Museum enough. And then our sunset walk through Ueno Park was just beautiful to behold on our way home. So it was definitely a successful day for animal lovers and fossil lovers and science lovers. So I definitely recommend it. This is Horatio signing out, and I'll see y'all at the next review.